Welcome to another Life is All About Choices. I have a very beautiful guest with me today. Her name is Gina, and we're going to be talking about MS. So stay with us, stay tuned, because she's got a lot of really great information. Gina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here, Nancy. Thank you.
I can't even tell you how, I think the word I wanted to say is proud. I'm so proud of you. And, you know, what person has a right to be proud of another person? Because, you know, I don't know, but I do. I just feel a tremendous amount of pride for you and the work you're doing and the fact that you're in my life. So I'm really glad that you're here with me today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bless you. That's really, and the fact that we've connected in this way is pretty awesome as well.
Absolutely. The universe makes no mistakes. It knows, you know, exactly what it's doing. So before we go any farther, Gina, can you tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why you're so fabulous?
Who I am, what I do, and why I'm so fabulous. Well, what an awesome question. Yes. So my name is Gina Dallison. I am a life coach that has multiple sclerosis, and I work with women who have got multiple sclerosis to help them navigate their way to find a way through the myriad of choices that we have to find the best life for them. And I do believe that having an autoimmune disease, having a chronic illness, is here to teach us something. And for me personally, it's helped me on my spiritual journey. So it's been a very spiritual path. It continues to be a very spiritual path. There is no end destination, is what I'm learning. So why am I so fabulous? How am I so fabulous?
I think that's what makes you so fabulous, because you've stepped up to the plate and you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And also I think it's what I'm able to see when I speak to my clients is sometimes people come to me and they feel really stuck and they feel like they haven't got, you know, they don't know where to go from there. They feel like they're stuck in a hole. Mm-hmm. And what I can see from sitting my vantage point is that they might be sitting in a hole, but there's loads of different ways out of that hole. And from where I'm sitting, it seems easy, and I just help guide them towards the answers that they're looking for. And it's beautiful, really, because from real, you know, what story doesn't have adversity? What story doesn't, you know? And they're the best ones, aren't they? The ones that we actually, you know, stuff happens that we never would have chosen, and you know, we never would have put on ourselves if we had a conscious choice. But here we are, and we're dealing with it, and we're making our way through life, and life is fantastic and it's exciting. And as long as we keep reminding ourselves of that, then it doesn't really matter what comes along to try and knock us sideways. We can step up and climb out of the hole and have a smile on our face.
That's right. It's the stories that we don't allow to drag us down into the darkness that really empower us and others.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And, you know, and I think from myself, having, you know, getting this diagnosis, getting this label is, you know, it is quite disempowering, because if anybody's ever been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease or any other sort of long-term illness, there is no cure. That's what you're told. There is no cure. I was told as well, and I've heard others are told, is, you know, when I said, is there anything I can do? No, there's nothing really you can do. We'll wait until, you know, symptoms get worse, and then we can offer you medication. And obviously the medication comes, you know, it's strong stuff that they're giving you. It comes with a whole load of possible side effects. And even then, it's not a live with the side effects and you'll be cured. It's live with the side effects if you can, and hopefully it will slow things down and it won't progress as fast. So, you know, your options it does feel almost like, you know, doors are shutting in front of you, and maybe your life choices feel more limited. So this is around sort of almost looking around you and recognizing, well, that door might feel shut, but actually there are lots of other things that are open to us. And
That's right.
And the more you start reading, you know, and hearing about other people's stories about when they've, you know, people who've overcome cancer, or people who, living with any of these conditions or had real life-changing injuries, that actually, if you allow it, it opens up a whole world of stuff that you never would have even, embarked on if you'd not had that condition. So,
Absolutely. It's interesting because when we first talked, we were talking a lot about the imposter syndrome, any thought, feeling, or belief that does not originate from your higher self. And when I learned your specific niche, that you are coaching women with MS, I thought to myself, wow, that is a very specific niche. Is there really a call for that she's creating a lifestyle and a business around this? And since talking to you, or that very first conversation that we had, now women with MS are coming into my awareness. And I firmly believe that that's what this is all about, because as each of us share our story, we give others the opportunity not only to share their story, but to know that they're not alone in what they're going through, because we have to go through something to come out on the other side. But also, you're bringing awareness. Even to me, when I thought, is there really that much of a call? You're bringing awareness that, heck yeah, there is a call for this. And you're letting women know, like, you don't have to walk this alone. And I truly applaud you.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, when you talk about the imposter syndrome, because yes, we were talking about that originally, and it does feel like sometimes, who am I to try and tell, and it's, well, I suppose it's not telling people what to do, and I suppose that's it. I'm answering my own question. Who am I to try and help people out of their situation? Because every single person is different. And there are lots of people out there that I'm now discovering, more and more of them, that have, overcome either MS or other autoimmune disease, and, are sharing their story. And, they follow a lifestyle package, really, of diet and exercise, but they're all slightly different, and there is no one size fits all. So it's around getting to know yourself on a deeper level. So as I said earlier, it's been a bit of a spiritual path. It has, because I think that is, for me, that is spirituality. It is getting to know who we are. And you talked earlier about your higher purpose, and what actually, and that's it. It's part of getting in tune with that. And what I'm learning is that you don't necessarily, yes, that's my purpose, and onwards. It sort of evolves and changes, and as you learn more, and every time you think you've sort of, yes, I've got it, then something else sort of comes back, and I haven't got it, and the doubts come in, and the familiar thought patterns, and it's that ongoing challenge. But I think by having, and you recognise as well, by recognising that we're not alone, and even just by having this conversation, and conversations like this, and hearing videos like you're doing, because I've only listened to a few of them at the moment, but they're awesome, all of them. And
thank you.
And they're sharing what people have gone through, and recognizing that actually there is hope. And I think that's the key thing. That's the key thing of recognizing that, because you've got a condition that, if you've been told is there is no cure, people can almost give up hope. And I've heard of people doing that as well, being, we've got the label of MS. That means the prognosis is you're probably going to end up in a wheelchair. And it's almost like, right, that's me done. I'm not moving. And then it's a self, fueling, that's what happens. It's like, before you know it, your legs stop working because you haven't used them anymore.
I like how you talk about it when you say you've got that label now, because that's a really good way to put it. And you're talking about, you've got that label of an autoimmune disease, specifically called MS, but there are so many labels out there. For instance, a woman who has been violated, or in a traumatic experience, or domestic abuse, now she has a label. And it's the label that we fight against the most. But when we go through something, and we come out on the other side, or even if we are still going through it and we decide, you know what, based on my experience, I have learned some things, I have experienced some things that I know can inspire, motivate, and empower others. And I'm going to do that. And I am a firm believer in what Carl Jung says, that it's not about what happens to us, it's about what we do with what happens. And when something happens, when we experience something, because nothing happens to us, everything happens for us. So when we experience this, what are we going to do with it? And like you said, you know, you're either going to make the choice of, okay, fine, I'm going to sit in a wheelchair and just melt because, you know, this is my lot in life. Or am I going to get out there and am I going to discover what it is that I can do and how I can inspire, motivate, and empower myself and other. And that's why I just love the phrase, life is all about choices. It's all about what we choose to do and how we go through it.
No, it's a fab little tagline, and it is, and in every moment we've got a choice, haven't we?
Absolutely.
It feels, I mean, it feels, especially at the moment, I've been going through another little, you know, and I guess it's almost up leveling every time you sort of want to, you know, stretch yourself a little bit further. You get those wobbles, you get that, who am I, and what, I can't do it, I can't. And I love the quote by Henry Ford, you know, if you think you can or you think you can't, then you're right.
Exactly.
And it's true, because, you know, we tell ourselves we can't do something or things aren't possible, and then they won't be. So it's about shifting that belief, and beliefs, as you will know, is like massive. And as I take people through, when I work with them, I call it the ABC of getting honest. Because for me, it's around getting honest with what's going on in your life, because you don't get a chronic illness by just something happening. It would have been, you know, it happens over a long term, possibly over previous lives, if you know, if you believe in that. But I do think it's certainly through generations, you know, what happened maybe to your parents, and you're never going to go back and pinpoint, you know, that one thing or that one party or that one choice that you made way back when. It would have been, it's almost like a perfect storm of things that happens that triggers something in your body that, you know, that I think probably everyone's got. But whether, you know, and I think everyone's got probably the same cancer thing as well. And why is it some people, you know, can smoke 20 a day for 100 years and not get, and other people, you know, just smell a bit of smoke and get lung cancer? It's there's, you know, but you don't need to go back and work it out. I think, you know, we are where we are, and if we can choose to actually trust that everything that's happened to us in our past and in our previous lifetimes or whatever else has brought us to this point now, and now we've got a choice, and which way do we want to go? We can, you know, we can bang on that door that's just shut, or we can turn around and look at, whoa, look at all this stuff I didn't even see before.
Exactly.
So it's so and that's the reminder. It's reminding yourself of that all the time, because you get so life is cluttered, isn't it? There's so much stuff that's going on that we have to deal with on a, you know, daily basis, and other people in our lives, and jobs and houses and kids and all that sort of stuff, and to try and stay focused on keeping us, you know, happy, and taking away from that slam door and moving into the direction that we could be going. The options are endless, I think.
So I know how you are going through it now, but I'm going to take you back just a little bit. Share with us, if you will, when you received the diagnosis. I'm sure that this mindset that you have right now was not the mindset that heard the diagnosis, correct?
Yeah, well, yes and no, because I think I was always pretty much a positive person. I was always, but you know, glass half full, and I'll just deal with stuff. And it's and my diagnosis, or my symptoms, the original symptoms that I felt, I had severe numbness in my legs and feet. They were, you know, it was bad enough that I was struggling to walk and I wasn't driving because I couldn't feel the pedals properly. But I don't know if you know anything about multiple sclerosis, but I was diagnosed with the relapsing remitting kind, which sort of has a flare up and then it goes into a remission again, and and some, you know, this can span out over years and years. And when I actually got the diagnosis, I was in remission again. And I think, interestingly, having the label came as a bit of a relief, because in my head, my imagination was, you know, a lot more severe. I was dying of a brain tumor and had 6 months to live.
Yeah.
So therefore, having MS felt lighter in a strange sort of way. But I have heard of people that have, you know, been literally, they couldn't walk. They got up one day and literally their legs stopped working, or they got blind and they couldn't see. So then having the diagnosis in the middle of that is terrifying. So I've worked with people that have been really like terrified with it, but personally I was like, actually that's not as bad as it could be, and if I'm just going to get a bit of numbness every so many years, then I can sort of live with that. It wasn't until probably about 5 or 6 years later, when my symptoms started getting slowly but gradually worse, and I didn't get a remission period. So it feels like it sort of moves on to the progressive side. And that's what can happen in MS as well. It can go progressive, and you know, that's when you see the worst case scenarios of people in severe pain and in wheelchairs and all this sort of stuff. But again, I feel I've been quite lucky, because although my symptoms are getting worse, it's a very slow progression compared to what I've heard other people. So it is, but by that point, I'd changed the direction of my life. It was about that time, as my symptoms started getting worse, that I started looking for answers outside of the medical profession. And that's when my coaching journey started, really. So that was about 2016, 2017. And I just thought that there's got to be something I can do, rather than just sitting here waiting for the doctors or somebody to find a cure. And then I read books, and I found out about other people who'd, you know, changed their diet and changed their lifestyle, taken up meditation, and, you know, and I just thought, well, that's got to be better than just sitting here waiting for stuff to happen to me. So that was definitely a shift in my, you know, around that time. And then literally my whole world started to change. I think because I became more empowered with what I was doing with my health, it gave me the confidence to actually recognize that I wasn't happy in my work, I wasn't happy in my relationship, and I could actually do something about it. So I think that was the catalyst, if you like, to sort of me stepping into my power, if you like, and realizing, actually, yeah, I'm getting to midlife. I don't want to just sit here and feel like life is passing me by, and I'm just feeling like I felt like a spectator almost. Everyone else seems to be having a great time, and on the surface I might look like I was having a good time, but inside, in my heart, I wasn't really feeling it. So that was definitely a big mindset shift for me. And then I started learning about, you know, the law of attraction, and I had that epiphany moment where I wanted to change my work direction and come out of the corporate world and set up my own business, and be brave enough to do that, because I'd spent 20 years moaning about my bosses, literally from one job to another, and thinking, really, it's time to step up and you know, put your money where your mouth is, really. So it has been a massive life change, and I think that really having this condition might not have been the only reason, but certainly helped boot me into that, you know, come on, life's too short to be messing about. You have got choices, and all of us can do whatever we want once we decide that.
I love that, because what you just said, it's like, okay, midlife, not happy in your relationships, been complaining about your bosses for 20 years, diagnosed with MS. You could have been one of those people that said, oh my gosh, now this happened. What else is life going to throw at me? This is horrible. See? And completely go down that rabbit hole of life sucks. But instead, you chose to say, oh, okay, I can see that I can either keep spiraling that way, or I can move up, level up, go up, and accept the beauty that is inside of me, the love and the light. And I love that path choice that you talk about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because that's and then how I felt. I think by that point, I'd sort of, it was a simple online course about the law of attraction, and because at one point I was very much in that, oh my God, we would, me and my ex were really at the bottom level, which we'd lost a load of money. you know I didn't have a house anymore. We were in rental, and everyone I looked around me seemed to be renovating their gorgeous houses, and I was very much like, oh, it's all very, and I think the real shift, the first thing that they got us to do on this course was to keep a gratitude journal, and that really started the shift. And you'll know how powerful gratitude is.
Yes.
And just recognizing that actually what have you got.
Yeah.
And I did have a lot, and it was recognizing that on a conscious level. I think that certainly started the shift. And it's powerful stuff, because it all goes on in here, as we know. We can fall down that rabbit hole, and that's not to say I don't fall back down it again now and again, because I do.
Of course.
But and sometimes you like to wallow in it, don't you? Because it feels easier than actually stepping out and doing something different. But actually, when you do step out and do something different, that's where the magic happens, because that's when you're stretching that comfort zone, and all of a sudden you're not blocked in by, there's probably not even any doors anyway. They're just, that's just a figment of your imagination. You feel like doors are shutting, but yeah, they're not.
That's interesting that you say that, because I remember not too long ago having a conversation with a woman. She was having a conversation with me to be a client with me. And she said, but I have to ask you something, Nancy. She's like, are you really as happy as you seem? Are you really as put together as you seem, as you portray? And I remember sitting back and going, well, of course. And I looked at her and I said, we have so much to be grateful for, so much to be happy for and happy about. I mean, you think about, getting up in the morning, a warm place to sleep. If you're in a place where it's cold and you're out of the cold, and it doesn't have to be a big house or a mansion or, I don't know, a big car. There are so many things to be grateful for, and think about it. And I said, one of the things that makes me so freaking happy is iced tea. Oh my gosh. Iced tea with lots of ice makes me really, really happy. So when I am drinking a glass of iced tea with lots of ice, I am really, really happy. And then I told her, I said, there's so many things you could be happy for. You could be happy that you can walk, that you can talk, that you can see, that you can hear. Be happy that you can go to the bathroom. There are so many people who can't do these things. And we who can do it absolutely take it for granted every day. So, when life comes along and says, hey, let's be a little more understanding or aware of what you actually have. And then that's where people kind of, I think, make a mistake, because they say, oh, if I'm too happy, then life's going to do something to take that happiness away from me. And I don't agree with that. I don't believe that that's how the universe works, because when you are in a context of love and joy and happiness and prosperity and abundance and feeling like you are all that in a box of chocolates, and you really find a reason to be grateful for those things every single day, it's impossible to have that level of energy, that level of gratitude and happiness, and think about something low energy or something that doesn't serve you. It's impossible to be in both of those spaces at the same time.
Definitely. I mean, it's getting that, because the appreciation is one of the highest vibes, isn't it, along with love. So if you can get into that space as much as possible, like you say, that's what you're pushing out there, and that's what you're going to attract back in. And it's all too easy to get caught up in the fear-based thing of what could go wrong, or what might happen, or what you didn't do yesterday, or what you never got done. And it's it's just reminding yourself, as you feel yourself, and you can feel it with your emotional, it's your emotions that tell you where you're at that scale. And if you're not feeling happy and grateful, then it's worth considering what you are thinking about at that moment,
Yes.
and maybe shifting it to something. Or your example of the iced tea is great, because you can make that at any point and actually just remind yourself, actually I can do this, look, I've got a freezer block that actually puts ice cubes into my thing, and I've got this, and that is amazing, because you're right, there's so many people in the world that don't have the basics. I mean, they talk about first world problems, and our problems really are first world, aren't we? Because we do have the fact that we're born into, the countries that we were born into. We have the basics there. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, sometimes it feels, but that's only because what we're thinking about. So if we can change that and think that to actually, what have we got, then it's massively powerful.
Well, I think as a society, we're conditioned to think about the things we don't have, because, there's that, oh, you've got to go to school, learn things, graduate, learn more things, meet people, get a job, get a better job. And so we're always thinking like we're behind the 8 ball, we're always thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to run faster, jump higher, climb better.
Yeah.
And but where are we learning to be in the now? Because the only perfect time is right now. And so if we're so busy or so in tune with what's happened in the past, this happened, I made that choice, that was the wrong choice, oh, that didn't serve me, oh, that really made me look like
an idiot.
Yeah. So then we're living in the past, and then we create a belief that what happened in the past is going to create our future. And that's what we mean by right now. Right now is the only perfect time to build your future from. Instead of building it from the past, build it from right now. And that's what you're doing so beautifully with your clients. You're taking them into that, where are you right now? And what can you be grateful for right now? And you're teaching them how to shift their mindset. And I think that the imposter syndrome really plays a huge part when we're diagnosed with anything or labeled with anything, because as soon as that label or that diagnosis goes into our mind, we automatically have a belief around what that means. And then we just, cave in and say, okay, so this is where I need to live from. And that's not where you need to live from.
Yeah.
It's like, give it a new definition. You are truly giving a new definition to life with MS.
Well, yeah, I hope to be, because it's quite interesting, because I tend, if I walk any distance now, I walk with a cane, because I'm a little bit wobbly, and it tends to be more of a preventative measure, unless I've walked for a while. But even that, the first time that I went out with holding a stick was just like, oh my God, I'm just, it almost, you feel like, I don't know, it took me a while to get I did it, but that shift around, just because you're carrying a stick doesn't make you any less of a person.
Right.
And and I guess it's that fear of judgment, or that, and to be honest, it just brought such a massive awareness into what people with, severe disabilities. I went to the theatre a couple of weeks ago, and they've got the steps going down to, with no handrail. And I was just like, for me now, it beggars belief, because you just think, well, and it's not just people with MS or people with an autoimmune disease, people have got things wrong with their knees, and it's,
sure.
There's quite a lot of people I notice now walking with sticks, and actually simple things like putting a handrail at the theatre is, and people who are really, reliant in a wheelchair, it just makes life a lot more challenging. The simple things that we take for granted becomes then a massive great, you can still do it. There's places that are there for disabled access, but you've got to really think ahead, and you've got to plan it. And I can see how it can stop people, or it certainly stop people just going off and doing, because all of a sudden you've got a logistical plan in order to, to get out the door and make sure it's safe, and make sure, if you needed to go to the toilet, you can go to the toilet, and all this sort of stuff. Because again, just disabled toilets, don't get me started on disabled toilets.
No, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. In 2005, I fell and broke both ankle bones in my left leg.
Oh my goodness.
I was in a wheelchair for 4 months. And, you know, so being in a wheelchair, that was my personal experience of, you know, the handicap situation.
Yeah.
And so you go to a restaurant or any place in public and they say, this is handicap available or handicap,
Yeah.
it's made for
Just
handicap. And you're like,
disabled
no,
access.
who did this?
Yeah.
Obviously it was not someone sitting in a wheelchair, because, you know, I'm sitting here in the toilet stall and the toilet paper is across from there. And it's like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
who,
I know.
or this is a handicap stall and the wheelchair doesn't fit in here. Um, or even they don't realize, like, just a small incline can be so fearful, because
Mm.
not just going down, but trying to get up it. And if you don't have someone pushing you, I mean, oh my gosh, you want to talk about
Yeah.
like all of these fears just flying through. And I knew that it was a temporary situation, but it actually took me 3 years to be able to walk properly again. So
Wow.
there was a lot of steps and stages that I went through in order to be walking today. So don't you know that it doesn't matter where I go today, if I go to the mall or shopping or whatever, I am the one that's parking far away, because I get out of that car and say, I am so grateful that I can walk, because I
Yeah.
remember when there was a time when I couldn't do this. And yes, I mean, we need to bring more awareness to Americans with Disabilities Act. And if somebody goes back and watches one of the previous shows on my channel here, Life is All About Choices with Tanner Gears, Tanner was blinded at the age of 19. And he
Wow.
just thought, oh my gosh, my life is over. It's done. Stick a fork in me. But he has gone on to, oh my God, that man is like totally my hero. He plays baseball. He is an Olympic runner. I mean, that
Wow.
man does so many things. And not only that, but he is also helping in the Americans with Disabilities Act through his blindness and his experience, to show, like, look, you think you're making this handicapable for the blind, but you're not.
You
So
know,
let's step
no,
up the
this is
plate
it.
here. And
Let's actually talk to people that are blind and ask them, you know, rather than
exactly,
just, yeah, presuming. Yeah.
exactly. So all of us who have experienced a dark night of the soul, and we have come out on the other side, however we've come through it and come out of it, those of us that are using that experience to inspire, empower, and motivate others, to me, that is our calling. That's what we're meant to do. And again, I applaud you for what you're doing, that you're doing this work. So tell me, Gina, when you are working with a woman who maybe is at a more advanced stage than you are, how do
Mm-hmm.
you encourage her to keep up this mindset of everything is possible?
Well, I take them through, like I think I mentioned it earlier, the ABC of getting honest. This is around getting honest with what's currently going on in your life. And
Mm-hmm.
the A is about awareness and actually looking honestly. And it's not about apportioning blame or, you know, labeling wrong or right or anything like that. It's just having a real objective awareness of what's going on in your life and the things that we can control. Things like what we put into our bodies, what we put onto our bodies, what we're saying to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and how we just, you know, sort of show up in the world. And then the B, so that's the awareness for A. B is for beliefs, and we've already touched on the power of beliefs. And as we're noticing what we're saying to ourselves, we go a bit deeper. And what do we actually believe is possible? What do we believe about ourselves? What we're worthy of? What we're capable of? What is actually possible? And how the world around us works. And then with the awareness in there, and, you know, a bit of work on beliefs, and also about beliefs, about which beliefs serve us and which beliefs are just holding us back. And a lot of, you know, a belief is just a thought we keep thinking, and the beliefs come from, you know, our life experiences and what we're taught and what we're told as we're growing up. But actually, when we really shine a light on them, how many of them are actually true?
Yeah.
And of course, it depends which side of the fence you're looking at, isn't it? It's So it's a bit like when you get the diagnosis, you know, there is no cure, it's terrifying. Or, you know, imagine if you were told when you got a diagnosis, instead of there is no cure, the prognosis is bad, get used to life in a wheelchair, you were told this is going to take you on a journey that you probably never would have chosen on, but oh my God, this is going to teach you about yourself, stuff about yourself you never would have known. It would, you know, invite you to meet people that you never would have met. And it's, you know, like your friend who's blind, I mean, he's now an Olympian. Would he have
Yes.
been that if he wasn't blind?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that brings us on to C. So you've got awareness, beliefs, and C is around then making changes, looking at your lives, you know, and I work with the concepts of behavioural science about changing things little bits at a time. So we can make massive, great, giant changes, but you know, if you want to make changes in your life, we know it's not easy. But actually, by working with a coach, then you can work on the mindset behind it, so it actually feels like it's an easier thing to do. And also, one little step at a time. Because if you make one little change, instead of going in that direction, you shift the trajectory of your life a little bit, and you're going in that, and then you can shift it again and shift it again. So it's the ABC, it's awareness, beliefs, and having the courage to make the change, really. So it doesn't really matter where they are in that journey. I think if you can shift your beliefs around, actually, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, you know, you got diagnosed 24 years ago and haven't done anything differently. By choosing to do something differently now, then your life can change. And I think if people just start to feel a little bit better, then that's a massive giant step, isn't it? Because, well, I know for myself, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, those doors that I didn't even notice were there are now opening up around me, and yeah, who knows? So, you know, it's not about promising that you're going to live symptom free for the rest of your life,
Right.
but it's around whether you live with symptoms or without symptoms, actually you learn from them. And I think, you know, a big learning point for me, certainly, and probably for a lot of people with any disabling condition, is probably to slow down a little bit. Because you know, our lives are really busy, and now with the onset of, you know, social media and, you know, the amount of information that comes flying out at us, it's, yeah, the slowing down thing. And when you physically can't walk as fast, you physically got to slow down. So it's almost like, right, yeah, let's take a breath.
And that reminds me of another person that I had a conversation with on this channel, Bronwyn Shortino. She talks about the very same thing. It's like when she was diagnosed with something and she had to slow her life down. And now she's doing completely different work based on showing other people the importance of slowing down your life, because a lot of times, not a lot of times, most of the time, those of us that are so busy that we don't even, as in her case, have time to really take a look at a very severe diagnosis that she was given. It's because you are creating so much havoc in your life, and you're creating that that busyness, and it's all about KISS, keep it super simple. So tell me, Gina.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not, sorry, yeah.
No, that's okay. Tell me, if someone wants to get a hold of you, learn more about you, learn more about your work, how would they get a hold of you?
My main place at the moment is Facebook. So I'm on Facebook. I've got a Gina Dallison coaching, or Gina Dallison, just come along to my personal page. I've also got a group called Unconditional Living. And this is a women's only group. It's not just for women with MS, but it tends to be a lot of that. But it's about focusing on, when I talk about living unconditionally, about loving your life no matter what. So that's not to say that we don't want to go through the ABC and make some changes, but it's about actually, yeah, I suppose it's that gratitude thing of where we are, and recognizing that actually, even if our life isn't exactly how we would want it, we can be grateful for where we are. And that then gives us the strength and motivation, if you like, to be a bit more honest with ourselves and, you know, make some changes. So if anybody's interested in coming along, and what I do in there is we have daily posts around just sharing some of the stuff that I'm learning and continuing to learn, because this learning about yourself is an everlasting journey of
Yeah.
experience and experiments and joy and mind shifts and all that sort of stuff. And we can share some stuff and support each other on the journey, because as you say, it's when life comes along, it's a lot easier when there's somebody there to sort of give you a bit of inspiration, or just give you a little gentle little kiss to say, come on, you're all right, we can keep going. And that sounds good. And I've also got I've just bought a new domain name actually, called Managing MS Naturally.
Oh, awesome.
And that's just so this is a lot of my concept is and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with medication, and everyone's got their own journey, but what I feel quite strongly about is that I would like to manage my symptoms without the use of medication, and I do believe that's possible. So I came off my meds a couple of years ago, and while I still have symptoms, I'm feeling really healthy in myself, other than my wobbliness. And I'm also going through the menopause, and I'm doing that quite nicely at the moment. So touching wood, but it's life challenges come at us. So I think there's a lot to be said about keeping healthy, and not just with what you eat and how you treat yourselves, but also what you say to yourselves, and keeping that positive. And as you mentioned earlier, it's just keeping that gratitude up, really, of recognizing that actually we are in a great space, and we're lucky to just the fact that we're living thousands of miles apart, and we're chatting as if we were sitting next door to each other in a on a sofa. So how amazing
exactly
is that?
The internet just brings us together, you in London, me in California. It's awesome. I love it. Gina, you are such a beautiful soul. I'm so thankful and grateful that you're in my life. I'm thankful and grateful for the work and the passion that you are showing for women with MS. And I'm really grateful that you are here with me and shared this time with me today. Thank you.
Yeah, and ditto, Nancy. Thank you very much for having me on. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I'm feeling, you just bring so much energy into the room. So thank you, and thank you for your great work, because this is a great space, and life is all about choices. Every moment we can make a different choice.
Absolutely. And for those of you watching, I really hope that you got something out of this. If you're watching this, something called you to this. There are no accidents in this universe. So leave some comments. Let Gina know what your thoughts are. If you have some questions for her, leave some comments. We'll make sure that she gets them, or find her on Facebook. And subscribe to our channel and let other people know, because my vision for this YouTube channel is to have a space where people can go and listen to real life conversations with real life people who are actually going through it or have gone through it, and may have the answers that you're looking for. So give us some love. Let us know what you're thinking, and leave some comments, and subscribe and share. In the meantime, this is Nancy Mueller saying ciao for now.